What's up, folks? This is Dan from Discern, and these are my thoughts on the new track from Andy Mineo, Candy Rain. Andy Mineo is a hip-hop artist, rapper, and producer from New York. As a Reach Records artist, he's been surrounded by the most well-known names in Christian hip-hop, and he's become a household name himself since the release of his debut studio album, Heroes for Sale, in 2013. But since the release of his second full-length album, called Uncomfortable, in 2015, we haven't heard anything new from him, at least in an official, proper release. And this new single, Candy Rain, was released just last week to celebrate Mr. and Mrs. Mineo, Andy and his wife, on their second wedding anniversary. It's a song that is inspired by their relationship, and is actually written and spoken directly to his wife. The song kicks its feet up, sort of toasts to their marriage, looks back at how it all began with a fond warmth, and smiles eagerly for what the future holds. This song really can't be fully understood without taking a look and a listen to the thematic, melodic, and stylistic inspiration for it. While this song certainly has some Andy Mineo signature features to it, the 8-bit crunchy effect that kicks the song off, or the unashamed goofiness in some of the lyrics, this song is heavily pulling from the 1995 original Candy Rain, from the R&B foursome of brothers known as Soul Faux Real. Lovely name. This is not a cover song, not at all, really. But it's undoubtedly true that this song from Andy Mineo would not be styled the same or be lyrically bent the way it is if not for the original. The line "candy-coated raindrops" is directly pulled from the chorus of the original, singing that my girl is like candy-coated raindrops. It's sweet, sort of childishly sappy, but it's as smooth as 15-year-old Jace could be expected to be back in 1995. It's a little immature, to hear a phrase like that come from Andy Mineo, a 28-year-old, but like I already said, Andy usually has a goofy youngster vibe to his music. The style of the original song, it's a thick, syrupy R&B jam. It's played out in this track in very tasteful synth or / organ sounds that covers the floor of the track. It's just like a cool cloud, providing this soft bedding that defines the mood of the song. And there's an effortlessly grooving bass and a freewheeling guitar that show up toward the end of the track, really filling out the sound, building the energy a bit. The harmless and laid-back trap groove really drives home a similar mood to the boom-bap beat of the original track. It's just the modern-day hip-hop slow jam groove. The hi-hats stutter and swerve with a pretty loose connection to the beat, heavily triplet-based at times, giving it that slow, fast feel. Production on this track was by Wit and 42 North, who both had worked on a handful of tracks from Andy Mineo's last album. And the general sound of this track is just atmospheric, sort of sleepy, dreamy. It's a really good fit, I think, actually, with the imaginative, sort of stuck-in-your-head visions of Candy Rain. This track really only features one main rap verse, that being the second verse. The first verse is mostly singing, a touch of auto-tune on the lead, some electronic fuzziness coating the backing vocals. On the second verse, Andy opens the door a little wider, moves with a little more vocal quickness, just a more typical rap flow. It's nothing special. In fact, it's kind of uninteresting, but it gets the job done, I think. It's also got some quirky moments, too, that lighten the mood, give the verse some charm. And lyrically, while this song is not the most clever, not the deepest, it's very clear and straightforward, in its purpose and in its direction. The first verse, goes back and sort of recaps some history of their relationship, saying, remember this, remember that, bringing up circumstances and events. The second verse is a little more recap of their budding relationship, but the lyrics get more personal as Andy digs more into how he felt about her at the time, the characteristics that she had that impressed him, the internal turmoil, of commitment that he struggled with inside. Decent lyrics, but not really that memorable, I guess, unless you're his wife. Then I would hope for Andy's sake you find these lyrics to be dynamite. Don't want to disappoint the missus. Overall, I guess I don't have much more to say about this track. It's pretty middle of the road, especially when compared to his discography. I mean, this would be kind of a forgettable track on a full album of his. It's super mild, sort of gets buried in its own dreamy atmosphere, but it delivers a satisfying mood and vibe, and it is pretty cool, to see the reflection and interpretation of the influences of that 1995 track, Candy Rain. It's interesting to me, how many similarities and stylistic connections there are to the original, but tweaked just enough to make them unique to this track and even unique to the hip-hop genre as a whole rather than the R&B genre where the song originally came from. You see that even in the backing vocals, in the hook or in the chorus. In the original song, the backing vocals are prominently carrying full and rich harmonies to very typical R&B backing vocal performance. And in this track, the backing vocals are dropping an A, at the tail end of some of the phrases, a very typical hip-hop backing vocal performance. I think the song also does, a good job of taking you back, sort of dropping you with Andy in his car, or more like his parents' car probably, and imitating the vibes and the emotions of a young 13-year-old Andy, listening to Candy Rain, dreaming of that perfect girl. It's painting sort of a musical picture of the dreamscape that Andy probably felt, lost in his mind, hoping for that special someone someday. And now he's saying, talking directly to his wife, you make me feel like I did when I listened to that song and dreamed of someone just like you. He takes the mood and the feelings of the past when listening to Candy Rain and ties them to the present, being with his wife 2 years into their marriage. And from that perspective, the song is pretty clever. It is memorable from that perspective. But the overall sound of this track is nothing really to be amazed at. I honestly think this was just a fun song to make for him. It was fun probably for him to make. A fun track to release just because he wanted to. Something for his wife. Something special. But I don't think it's a tease or, the first real single to an upcoming release. I think this feels like just a standalone track, which means it's sort of fleeting. It'll kind of get buried over time. But in its current context, it's a decent track, worth checking out. There are a couple links below in the description box for you to hear this song. It's only on YouTube and SoundCloud, so pick your poison. I also put a link to the original song Candy Rain by Soul for Real for those who are, curious to check out some of the inspiration that fueled this track. And finally, as always, there's a link to Andy Mineo's Twitter in the description. As you can probably tell from his lyrics, the guy is lighthearted, comical, likes to be silly. That's basically his Twitter in a nutshell. So give him a follow if you want to check that out. And that about does it. Thank you so much for watching this track review. If you enjoyed this video and you have not yet done so, please subscribe to the channel. New track reviews just like this release every Wednesday, and new album reviews release every Friday. If you want to make sure that you're notified when a new video comes out, then you should definitely subscribe. The video gets sent right to your subscription feed. If you have a question or a comment for me about this track or not about this track, you can comment below this video. You could tweet at me at discernreviews, or you can send me an email, discernreviews@gmail.com. Have you listened to this track from Andy Mineo? If so, what did you think about it? Do you think this is the first single in a marketing strategy toward an upcoming album? Do you think something big is in the works, or do you think it's just a one-off track, something for a very special occasion? Let me know what you're thinking, folks. Anyway, hope this helps. See ya.